Sorry about that. I was muted. So let me try that again. It is 10 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time. It is Monday, April 20th, and this is the weekly Zoom meeting for the spring 2020 edition of Political Science 11. And so welcome. Thank you all for joining me this morning. And thank you for those of you who are watching this as a recording after the fact. Always appreciate you folks as well. And so this morning, main thing that we're going to accomplish is to go ahead and talk about any questions, comments, problems that you are having with our second test of the semester. Remember, the second test is due this coming Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Of course, you also have the automatic 3-day or 72-hour grace period built in for this assignment, as well as for all of our assignments this semester. In other words, if you're not able to submit an assignment to me via Canvas by the due date posted on Canvas, you have an additional 72 hours. That is an additional 3 days to go ahead and get that assignment completed and submitted without any points being deducted for lateness or anything like that. So that is going to be our main subject for today, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Before that, though, just some announcements, reminders, that sort of thing. First of all, to mention something that I talked about in a Canvas message to you last Monday, but I don't recall if I talked about it during our weekly meeting here on Zoom, so I'll mention it now just in case. And that is the fact that starting last week and for every Monday and Wednesday afternoon between now and Wednesday, June 3rd, which is the end of the spring semester for us here at LBCC, I will be hosting twice weekly from 2:30 until 3:30 in the afternoon Pacific Daylight Time, virtual student hours via Zoom. So these are meant to replace the student hours that I would normally be holding in my office at the LAC campus at LBCC back when we were on campus meeting face to face. And so the student hours, whether the live version in my office or the virtual ones that we'll be doing here between now and the end of the semester, I'm not lecturing, I'm not presenting material or anything like that. So the virtual student hours are not meant to replace what we do every Monday morning together here on Zoom. Instead, they provide you with an opportunity to get any questions answered that you have, any questions about the readings that you're doing, any questions about assignments, any questions that you might have about anything having to do with the class, or anything that you think I might be able to help you with. So the stuff that you would normally come in to see me about during my regular student hours on campus. So for example, maybe you have questions about transfer. Maybe you have questions, maybe you're thinking about joining the LBCC honors program. You want to learn more about that. Maybe you're thinking about throwing your life away and becoming a poli-sci major. Just kidding. It's a great major. I encourage it. But anything that you think I might be able to assist you with, please do feel free to come and speak with me during the virtual student hours. In addition to the regular ways that you can also communicate with me during the rest of the semester, either via Canvas message or by email or something like that. Now, if you want to visit me during my virtual student hours, and again, remember, it's voluntary, it's not required, there are no participation points at stake or anything like that. It's solely there for your benefit if you need it or want it, right? To access the virtual student hours on Zoom, you don't find those and click onto those in the same way that you do our regular weekly meetings here on Zoom. So you can't find the student hours link via the ConferZoom link on our class Canvas page. Instead, the link for virtual student hours is found on our Canvas homepage. So the first page that pops up when you click on our class in your dashboard, if you scroll down the home page a little bit past the picture to the section that says basic course information, you will find the link for my twice weekly Zoom virtual student hours, okay? And the reason why you access those in a different place than these weekly class meetings is because the virtual student hours are not just open to students in this class, Poli-Sci 11, but are open to students in all 7 of my classes that I'm teaching here at LBCC this spring. So that's why the different location. So if you decide to visit me during my student hours on Zoom, when you click on the link, you will be put into a virtual waiting room. So kind of think of it as the virtual tables and chairs outside my office in the T building. And so once you go into the waiting room, that means that I'm already talking to another student one-on-one via Zoom. So just be patient. Hang out in the waiting room for a few minutes. And as soon as I'm done working with the student that I'm already talking to, I'll go ahead and bring you out of the waiting room and we can go ahead and chat about whatever you need to chat about. All right. So that's how those work. So any questions, comments, problems about those virtual student hours? Anybody? And you can either unmute your mic or put a question in the group chat and we can move on from there. Anybody? Okay, great. So let's move ahead. And the next thing I wanted to mention before we get to talking a little bit about test number 2 is the fact that, remember, and I sent you a Canvas message about this last week as well, the discussion forum post assignment for Machiavelli, that got posted on time when it was supposed to by Canvas last week. But unfortunately, the module for Machiavelli that listed the required video and the class notes for Machiavelli that we talked about in our weekly Zoom meeting last week weren't posted when they were supposed to. I wasn't able to get those up. I realized the problem first thing last Monday morning, put everything up really quickly. But remember what I did, because of the delay in getting that information up for you, I extended the due date for the Machiavelli discussion post. Normally it should have been due last Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. Instead, I made it due this past Friday at 11:59 p.m. And as of this point, when I logged into Canvas this morning, I noticed that about half of you in the class, about 15 of you, have gone ahead and uploaded your discussion forum post assignments for Machiavelli. So if you haven't yet gotten to Machiavelli yet, please do so as soon as possible. Obviously, you are still in the 72-hour window to finish that. And so please, if you haven't done so already, please get that Machiavelli post up onto Canvas as soon as you reasonably can, okay? I know that you're also working on test number 2 at this point, but please get the Machiavelli assignment up as soon as you reasonably can so that I can accept it and evaluate it for full credit, all right? Okay, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about test number 2. And if you've had a chance to start taking a look at test number 2, you know a few things. First of all, you know that the format for test number 2 is pretty much the same as the format for test number 1, which we were able to take in class back when we were still meeting face-to-face before everything changed, essentially, right? So it's the same 2-part format as you were used to. With test number 1, the only major differences between test number 2 and test number 1, and I mentioned this to you last week, test number 2, obviously, since you are working on it at home and you'll be submitting it to me via Canvas, test number 2 is completely open book and open notes. So when you're working on test number 2, please feel free to have your Wolin book open to refer to when you need it. Have your political philosophy, a graphic guide book open if you need it. All of your class notes that I've been posting for you on Canvas have all those available. If you need to go back and review some or parts of the required videos that you've looked at for this section of information, you have the ability to refer to all of that as much as you want to as you are writing test number 2. Remember, because you're doing it at home, open book, open note, and it's not going to be timed. We're not going to do Proctorio or any of that weird sort of spy test security software that's out there, so that, we would have video of you when you're working on the test to make sure you're not looking at other sources and we can see, what's on your screen and stuff like that. That's anyway, no, thank you. So open book, open note, no time limit, no Proctorio, nothing like that. Now, the only other difference between test number 2 and test number 1 is that, remember, for test number 1, you're required to bring into class with you a topic outline, a basic layout, a basic framework of the essay question that you were going to be answering for part 2 of the test. And that was because the test was being given face-to-face with a time limit. And I always feel like in those situations, having a pre-done outline in front of you is going to allow you to do a better job in actually writing your essay. And that's why I'm willing to bribe you, essentially give you points for bringing in, using, and then turning in that essay outline. But since we're not taking test number 2 or test number 3 in class, since it's completely open book and open note without a time limit, there's no need for you to develop and turn into me an essay outline for part 2 along with the rest of your test. So don't worry about it. All 40 points possible in part 2 are going to be coming from that approximately 5-paragraph essay that you upload to Canvas for me. All right, so that's the basics of how the test works. And remember, when you are ready, you can submit the test to me via Canvas in 2 ways. You can either type into a text entry box or cut and paste into a text entry box and submit the test to me that way. Or you can submit the test to me either in a docx, or a PDF file and upload that to Canvas. Either way works. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open things up. Any questions that you have about the process, the procedure for the test, or any questions you have about any of the concepts that are covered on the test. Remember, this test is covering what we've talked about since test number 1. So our discussions of the early Christian philosophers, our discussion of Martin Luther, the big Reformation philosopher, as well as our most recent discussion dealing with Niccolo Machiavelli. Remember, I shortened up the information for the class when we moved fully online. So if we were still face-to-face, we also would be covering chapter 6 in Woolen, dealing with John Calvin, but we skipped Calvin this semester, so no worries about him. So feel free to ask me a question. I will not give you direct answers for test questions because, what's the point of that? Obviously, why have you take a test and it's going to give you answers that you can, repeat. But if you're unclear about any of the concepts or any of the instructions or process for the test, I'm happy to deal with those right now. So any questions, please feel free, open up, unmute your mics, put questions in the group chat, anything at all that I can help you with right now dealing with test number 2. Anybody? And I'll just sit around here for a second and twiddle my thumbs. You can actually see me twiddling my thumbs while you get a chance to get any questions that you have together. Remember, hopefully you have a copy of the test up so that you can take a look at it right now. So I'm open. Any questions, comments, problems, etc., dealing with test number 2? Anyone? See, at this point, I wish that I was sophisticated enough with Zoom to have like, music kind of rise up in the background while I'm waiting for questions, that sort of thing. Unfortunately, I'm not that sophisticated yet. Maybe for test number 3, I'll have that figured out, but not right now. So I will just give you another moment. Again, questions, anything like that. Don't be shy. Walter's just giving me some background music. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. See, why didn't I think of doing something as simple as that? But you guys are way ahead of me on most things. That's why I appreciate y'all so much. Oh, I love you guys. I miss you guys. I love being able to see and hear from you all on these weekly meetings, but I so wish that we could be together again face to face, but not possible right now. So let me just give you another minute or so. Any questions dealing with test number 2? Any of the concepts that we've looked at over the past few weeks since test number 1, or anything having to do, any questions having to do with the logistics and process of test number 2? Or any questions specifically about Machiavelli, because, a lot of you are still working on that discussion forum post assignment as well. So why not throw Machiavelli in the mix too? Okay, so seeing nothing, I think then what I'm going to do is just start wrapping things up a little bit, give you some other reminders about if you have questions between now and the due date for test number 2, how you can get them answered. And if you think of a question between now and then, before I finish wrapping up, please feel free to let me know. So again, as I mentioned, at the beginning of class, I will be having virtual student hours this afternoon from 2:30 to 3:30 Pacific Daylight Time. And then this coming Wednesday, 2:30 to 3:30 Pacific Daylight Time. Please feel free to jump in during the virtual student hours and ask me a question at that point if you have them. If questions come up at other times, please feel free to email me, send me a Canvas message. I'll be happy to help you out there. Also, of course, this coming Monday, I'll take as much time. Well, yeah, by then you should have turned the test in. So next Monday, we'll go ahead and I'll preview the information for your next discussion forum post assignment that will be due next week. So one last shot, one last chance right now. Any questions, comments, problems about anything having to do with the information covered for test number 2? Anybody? All right, so that, I guess, is where we will end things up for today. You know how to reach me if you need me for questions going forward, whether it's about test number 2 or anything else that's on your mind that you think that I can help you with. And remember, we are continuing to live through and succeed in very unprecedented times. So please know that I am always here for you, not just for anything having to do with the class, not just for anything having to do with your life as a student at LBCC, but anything that you think that I can help you out with, even if it's just to, connect with a friendly voice and face for a few minutes. Please know that you guys are strong, and we are going to get through this successfully together. Remember, you are never alone. So best of luck working on test number 2. I will go ahead and end the Zoom meeting right now. I have a comment that's come up privately on the chat. So I will end the meeting formally right now and deal with that private response in just a second. But I'm with you guys. Hang in there. Be safe. Take care. And I'll see you on the internet. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. You know, for some reason, I've been trying to watch a lecture from last week, and it says a password because I try to go on view recordings, and once I click on that, the Zoom allows me or asks for verification of password.
Okay, that's really strange. So you're going through via no, but I mean you're accessing Zoom by going onto our page, clicking on Confer Zoom and looking at recordings from there?
Yes. So basically I go to the conference, go to Zoom, and once I click, for example, to join the conference Zoom, like for example today, there's options where you could view recordings. Then once I view recordings, I go to the date. Then once I go through to April, for example, last week, April 13, I click on it. Then that's when it asks me for a password to view.
That's really strange because I know other students in the class are regularly looking at the recordings and no one has had that problem. And normally when you go through that process, you should be able just to look at the recording without a password. I mean, if you were just to go through, the Zoom website or the Zoom app, chances are you would have to have a password for that, but it shouldn't be through Zoom. So I'm
gonna take a picture real quick
into that. No, I mean, okay, you can. That's fine. I mean, I understand. I understand what you're saying. I'm not quite sure how and why that's happening the way it is. So what I will probably try and do is see if I can figure out a way to post a password, and I'll put it in as a Canvas announcement so that for you, and in case anyone else, somebody else said they're having the same problem. So that's really strange. So let me look into that and see if I can figure out a solution, and I will hopefully be able to post a solution for you as a Canvas announcement a bit later on today. Okay?
No problem. No problem.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Super. Oh, it's a pleasure. Okay, so unless there are any other questions from anybody, 'cause it looks like everybody else is still hanging out. Does anybody else have a question that I can deal with before I go ahead and end the Zoom for this week?
That's it. I miss having class, that's all.
Well, yeah, you and me both, I'll tell you. I mean, this is great and I really appreciate this, but it's just not the same.
Yes.
So, but you know what? We deal with things as best we can.
Exactly.
You got to deal with the hand that you've been dealt, essentially.
Exactly. You got to play it right. Thank you.
All right. So you all take care, and I will go work on that problem right now, and have a great rest of the week. Take care. Bye-bye.